This July, we're taking life seriously. Cardiac arrest is scary and more common than you might think. Did you know that every year nearly 9 million people will experience a cardiac event outside of hospital? Would you know what to do? I'm Australian actor Steve Bastoni, and I'm urging everyone to learn CPR as part of our Don't Die July campaign. Visit don'tdiejuly.com and sign up today, because you can't put a price on life.
Critically analyzing global affairs. The Muckrakers on today's News Talk, TNT.
Well, hello and a very warm welcome back to the Muckrakers and to my colleagues at TNT who are all suffering because one particular Vision chappie gave them something bizarre over the weekend. More of that later. Hope you all get better very, very soon. Well, here on the Muckrakers, we pledge to continue tackling the most pressing and controversial news issues of our time. Our mission, as always, is to provide more light and less heat on in our unwavering quest to uncover the truth. And it's vital that we don't just ask the questions, but also question the answers. An extraordinary thing, every day extraordinary things are happening. Today we're going to have a look at Biden and Ukraine and business interest and the truth behind all of that. And we're also going to look at the attack on Trump, starting with the FBI's Russia-Trump probe. In latest news, former FBI agent Peter Strzok, who was fired from the Bureau in 2018 after his disparaging text messages about Donald Trump were made public, he's reached a $1.2 million settlement with the Justice Department over his claims that his privacy rights were violated. Now, this is all according to his lawyers, so it must be true. Peter Strzok was so central to the Trump-Russia investigation that he came up with the code name Crossfire Hurricane from the lyrics of a Rolling Stones song that happened to be in his head. In addition, former FBI attorney Lisa Page is due to receive $800,000. What this does, it ends the lawsuit that Page brought, but it doesn't fully resolve Strzok's separate suit, allowing him to continue to press his claims that he was fired in order to please then President Donald Trump. We're going to be looking at all of that. And to help me do that, I'm delighted to be joined yet again by Martin Jay and Dr. George Szamuely. How are you both?
Very good.
Well,
how are you, Andrew?
Good. Well, I'm delighted that you've avoided this TNT bug that's going around Australia. I think one of the joys of doing things remotely. And just to remind everybody, not that you need reminding, but I'll do it anyway. It's all part of the contract. Martin Jay is an award-winning, let's show me somebody who hasn't won an award-winning journalist and editor of margremi.org and levantis.me. His career has spanned over 30 years, which has seen him work in over 50 countries for a host of big media titles. His favourite, of course, is TNT. And on his Twitter page, I always love this, he proudly proclaims he's been fired by all the media giants, and CNN called him a good journalist but a pain in the backside. We've yet to see that side. Yeah, we've also met his dogs, which is lovely as well. And Dr. George Szamuely, he's a senior research fellow at the Global Policy Institute in London. He's written for innumerable publications and is author of Bombs for Peace, NATO's humanitarian war on Yugoslavia. Before we start, gentlemen, it's hit the world press at the moment. We always like to start with showing that we're up to date and current. The Olympics and the Olympic opening ceremony and the Last Supper parody, in inverted commas, has caused outrage around the world. The social media burst a blood vessel. What were your thoughts on it? Let me start with you, George.
Well, it was quite shocking. And it's shocking that the eyes of the world were on France. So the entire planet was on watching France. And this is the way France wants to present itself to the world, essentially desecrating the ideas, beliefs of, a billion or whatever Christians in the world, and to do it in a way that was calculated to offend not only Christians, but of course even people of other denominations who really do not believe in the practice of disparaging other people's religious beliefs. Muslims, for instance, regard Jesus as a great prophet, and therefore you don't disparage a great prophet. And France, which has much to be proud of, it has a great history, great literature, great music, great art. It's something that's always been admired around the world. Presented itself in a way that the rest of the world would just find absolutely disgusting. I mean, that they think that this is how you want to, advance your ideas, advance your cause. That you want to present trannies, men in drag. That this is who you are, and then you desecrate one of the greatest paintings of Western civilization. So it's just extraordinary what we've got ourselves into this situation where where the West is, that this is how it presents itself to the world, and particularly when we know that the world really finds the particular kind of alternative lifestyles and gay marriage and transgender, all of that particularly obnoxious, and they identify it entirely with the West. And for the West now to do this, to put this right in front of everyone's face, I just found it quite shocking and astonishing.
Martin?
Yeah, I don't know what shocks me more: this really awful, vulgar display of Western woke nonsense, or the mystery virus which is sweeping right across TNT staff in Australia. I mean, I hope it's not STDs.
Hey, what a party that was on Saturday!
I don't want to get into that, But talking of parties, I think the French have lost it. I mean, I've worked many, many years for French news agencies, and I do understand the French psyche to some extent. I wonder how much of Boris Johnson's 2012 Olympics had an impact on the decision to do this. Were they trying to get some one-upmanship? Was it Macron's idea that we have to do something? We have to do something which shocks the world and throws the spotlight on us. I mean, the poor French, they do need the spotlight thrown on them every now and again because they've lost so much in the last few years. They've lost great swathes of Africa, which are no longer, francophonie. They've lost the influence that they had, around the world. They've lost so much foreign investment. Their economy is in a mess. They don't know really whether they're coming and going. And who can really be surprised about the new wave of interest from voters towards the far right party, towards Le Pen's party now, because of immigration in a free fall, and the French identity now is really in a mess. The French don't really know who they are anymore. I mean, to look at this latest display of just vulgarity. I mean, vulgar. Gender-bending trannies, having a pop at religion, and it wasn't attractive. I didn't think it evoked anything original at all. For a long, long time, people of my generation grew up thinking of the French as progressive, égalité, fraternité, and all that. But I don't think this did it. I think this just really showed the world how out of touch the elite in France are with popular opinion, and this wokeism, which is really fascism dressed up as liberalism. That's what wokeism is. That this idea that we are so advanced and we're so progressive, and look at us, we can paint women in blue, we can have transgender people, strutting their stuff. But it didn't fool me. I wasn't impressed with any of it.
Yeah, I think the thing that really got me is that if you look at different religions, if they basically want to do a skit about Prophet Muhammad, for example, what on earth would have happened in that stage? And you're reminded about Charlie Hebdo and that sort of the terrible things that happened as a result of a cartoon there. What would your take on that be, George?
Well, you're absolutely right there. And that's what makes this whole thing kind of doubly disgusting, because that had the organizers done what Charlie Hebdo did, do some kind of a skit, a scatological skit on the Prophet Muhammad, or if they had made fun of the Talmud, we know what the consequences would be. Well, first of all, Paris would just go up in flames within 2 hours. But the organizers of such an exhibit would very swiftly be in prison and sentenced to decades behind bars. So there's the bullying aspect of it, which is particularly disgusting. That they know Christians will tolerate anything. It's like you can disparage their religion. You can burn their churches. You can attack their priests. You can behead their priests. In the United States, you can do an exhibit of Christ immersed in a tank of urine, and you get a government grant for it. The Christians will just tolerate anything, and that's why they did it. That this is the one religion that they identified, because there are no repercussions. Anybody else, they would be very severe. I mean, the Muslims, they don't joke around. You mess with their religion, they make their feelings known immediately. Same, if you did it with the Jews, they're not going to put up with this, anything like that. But Christians, they knew that's a soft target.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point. I mean, the ceremony itself, it was basically 4 fabulous minutes over 4 hours, wasn't it? If you watch the edited highlights, it was the first time they didn't have the opening ceremony just taking place in the main venue. They wanted to show off Paris, and I get that. And I think when they started using the iconic buildings, that was fabulous. And I like the Pegasus. I like the horse going down the Seine. I thought that was wonderful. A lot of people said it was very much occultish and devil worship and various other things like that. But I always say, well, if you want to draw a crowd, start a fight. And they've certainly done that. But it wasn't a patch, was it, on the opening that we had here in 2012 for the British Olympics with Her Majesty the Queen, you remember, with James Bond and those glorious moments. Those were fine moments for the British country, weren't the British nation? Weren't they, Martin?
Well, Britannia, and I think that really got up the French noses, and I think the thing is with Macron is that he's another one of these French elitist types who likes to pretend that he likes Britain, he likes Anglo-Saxon values and Anglo-Saxon ideologies and styles and cultures and music and all that, but he doesn't. He hates Britain. And like a lot of these elitists who are very, very strong federalists for an EU superstate, they hate everything about Britain. And I think my take is that 2012 certainly had some sort of impact on this outlandish display of vulgarity. I mean, they strived to make headlines. They strived to offend a lot of people. And why is it that we can do this with Christianity? Why is it always that we take this idea and we stretch it to such limits that it's cool to take the piss out of Christianity and it isn't for any other religion? Is that advancement? Is that liberalism? Progressive ideas? I'm not sure. I just think it's cheap. It just ridicules everything about the organization itself and the country. And I think the French shot themselves in the foot, and it's not the first time. I think we should get used to this.
And people, these things get planned for ages. I had the joy of going to many Olympics. I went to 2008 in Beijing, which was fabulous. I went to 2012 over here, which was fantastic as well. And you see the planning, they take ages and ages, the whole bidding process. They must have known the shock and outrage such a scene would have caused. What I want to do, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go to our main theme today, the payouts to Peter Strzok and former FBI attorney Lisa Page. You're watching TNT. Don't go away.
The challenges our planet's animals are facing sometimes feel a bit heavy.
The animals haven't eaten in a day, 2 days. They haven't drank anything. They're cold. They're dehydrated.
As soon as we started our descent, everywhere I could see was mud. Just absolutely mud.
The country has been in prolonged drought for so long. It was like a tinderbox waiting to go up.
Okay, very heavy. Each of us wants to be part of the solution, and we can be. Remember that there's good happening right now. At home.
All right, we were able to get into your unit, and we have all 4 of your cats. So,
okay.
And around the world. For any animal in any disaster. So let's focus on that, right? Be part of the solution, one rescue at a time. Search ifa.org/disaster ready.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
The Light is Britain's far-right conspiracy theory paper spreading hate and vicious lies. No, that's what the BBC say. The Light is the only national newspaper bringing you the real news and informed opinion on what's really going on today. You can subscribe, order copies, submit articles, and read back issues on our website, thelightpaper.co.uk, and see for yourself why the establishment are so worried about the uncensored truth getting out to people every month. The Light Paper. Not far right, just right so far. thelightpaper.co.uk.
Tracking global corruption and threats that undermine our security. This is the Muckrakers on today's News Talk, TNT.
Well, welcome back to the Muckrakers with me, Andrew Eborn, joined by George, Szamuely, and also the wonderful Martin J. as well, on all corners of the earth. And we were looking out at these extraordinary payouts to the FBI agent Peter Strzok and former FBI attorney Lisa Page. 800,000, 1.2 million megabucks. What's your take on it, George?
Well, I think it's Joe Biden paying everybody out who instigated Russiagate. This was one of the most shocking episodes in American history. You had essentially the security state, the FBI and the CIA, who directly interfered in the 2016 election to sabotage the campaign of Donald Trump, and then once he was elected, intervened to destroy his presidency. At the heart of it was Peter Strzok, and then to a lesser extent Lisa Page, who worked for the FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who himself was also fired by the DOJ. Now, Strzok deserves absolutely nothing, zero. The claim that his privacy was violated is, of course, ludicrous, because he was carrying out a love affair with a colleague, Lisa Page, and passing on messages on a government-issued phone. So it's a government-issued phone, so their privacy doesn't arise. But what's particularly important is that in these messages, we were able to put together the timeline of Russiagate, which is he clearly instigated this, lied about this, and but he clearly and made sure that whatever happens, even if he is not able to produce any evidence in support of any of these ridiculous conspiracies of Trump and Russia, he would do so much damage to Trump that either he would lose the election, or his presidency would be sabotaged. And the second part actually did work. I mean, his presidency was in many ways sabotaged. Now, we have an official government report, the Durham report, published a couple of years ago, and Durham goes into great detail of the malevolence of Peter Strzok, and that Peter Strzok started that investigation, the Trump-Russia investigation, without doing any basic research. He didn't even go into the FBI intelligence database to find out, well, is there anything here indicating that there's a history of Trump-Russia connections? He didn't go to the CIA or any of the other government agencies to look into and see, are there any Trump-Russia connections? Because, of course, he would have come up with zilch. So there was nothing. So he did it with malevolent intent. This is an official government report, malevolent intent. And now this low-life scumbag gets $1.2 million. Well, what's behind it? Obviously, Biden is sweeping things under the rug in preparation for his exit. And we should just remember, we'll talk about this more, Biden was also at the heart of Russiagate and the attempt to use Russia to get Trump.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? Martin, what's your take on it?
I think George has done a brilliant job summarising it all up. I mean, we should remember that time, what was going on. There was scaremongering going on, a witch hunt by the Biden administration, by the Biden camp, to try and ensnare and defame Trump using this idea of Russia